Alright, so I don't know who needs to hear this. That's actually a lie. I know exactly who needs to hear this. A lot of you YouTubers, content creators, social media influencers, a lot of you guys need to hear this. And not just you guys, of course, but here's the thing. You may have an expert knowledge on something, right? You may know more about a thing than anybody else, whether that's a subject, whether that's, it doesn't really matter what. You may know more about something than anybody, expert knowledge, genius knowledge. You may have all of that. However, that does not mean you are qualified to teach it. You need to understand that just because you know about a thing, just because you know a lot about a thing, that doesn't mean you have the ability to teach it. Because knowing about something and teaching it, two very different skill sets. So if you are putting out content that is called beginner's guides, or learn how to do such and such, or 6 easy steps to whatever it is. If you are putting out content like that and you are unable to communicate what you are saying in an effective way that people can understand, in particular people who don't know about it can understand, if you cannot do that, you're just wasting everybody's time. One thing I think a lot of people don't realize is that when you do something for a while, everything seems easy to you. Your method, your understanding, everything seems easy to you. But what you might not be fully realizing is that it's taking you a while to get to that place where everything seems easy to you. So people who haven't gone through that, people who don't have that knowledge and don't have that understanding, it's not easy to them. I remember one place I used to work, somebody there was telling me that when you are explaining things, you should never use the words basically or obviously. And the reason for that is because if it is basic or obvious, then it doesn't need to be explained. Now, of course, you know, in casual speech, it's fine. We use those words all the time. The point really is that to understand that things that are obvious to you aren't always obvious to other people. And if you are really trying to teach somebody something, especially people who are beginners, people who don't have those years of experience, people who are literally just starting, if your goal is to help those guys out, then it's so important to remember that just because it's obvious to you or basic to you, that doesn't mean it is basic or obvious. I mean, the very fact that you felt the need to make a video on the subject means you must have an understanding that it's not basic or obvious to a lot of people. Which means when you are explaining things, you have to explain it in as simple a form as possible. Back in the day, we used to say things like, explain it to me like I'm 5 years old, or explain it to me like I'm an idiot. And as tempting as that is, that doesn't mean explain it like, well, Billy went to the park and Billy had 5 apples. Can you count to 5? It doesn't mean that. It just means explain it in as simple a form as possible. Put yourself in their shoes and remember where you were when you were just starting out. And if you're already thinking something like, man, I ain't got the patience for that, or I ain't got no time for that, then that, my friend, means you should not be making these types of videos. Because I see a lot of these videos talking about beginner's guides or all that kind of stuff, and they're either super patronizing or they're just really not for beginners at all. So yeah, just because you know about a thing, just because you have an expert knowledge on a thing, just because you understand it better than anybody else, that doesn't mean you have the ability to teach it. So if you are genuine about teaching what you know, then some of you might need to take some courses in how to teach.